It seems the dark places stars well indicated on the map have changed.
Where the hell are these ponies going to? A Ren fair?
Oh, look at the adorable bunny. It matches so well with my scarf. Want to hang out with me for a bit?
You talking to me? You saying I'm cute? How about we snuggle and watch the show, baby?
Sure, that sounds great. Wait. What? Why can I hear the thoughts of a rabbit? Could it be a possible Dr. Dolittle situation?
Yeah, no. I learned to speak to ponies from a shaman in Whitetail Woods almost 1,000 years ago.
Really? 1,000 years ago? That year must have been the worst for Equestria. Although it has been almost that long since I have reviewed anything. Luckily though, I've been planning to return with the Season 7 finale. Wanna hang with me for this review? You seem like the type of rabbit who has some talent for this sort of thing.
I don't know. What with Night Midnights going on?
I'll give you some candy.
Oh dear Luna, I'm in.
Fillies and gentle colts! It has been a long time coming, but it's good to be back here on Unova Studies! And I am not alone on this comeback from death.
Hi, I'm Chokfi and I make silly videos over analyzing pony culture, so I'm the perfect guy to help you not be so uptight.
Anyway, so apparently Equestria nearly had its light taken by the Pony of Shadows, who's returned once again? But thanks to Star Swirl and the other pillars of Equestria also turning out to be alive in the present day, we've got a fighting chance, and woo-wee! It's a heck of a time to be alive as an equestrian.
The Pony of Shadows? Really? Wasn't that supposed to be an urban legend? And if they're sealing this thing, what were those eyes at the end of the episode? Zakora?
It was probably just one of those lame Season 4 stingers that never was meant to be anything more than a joke. Seriously, I thought they were setting up stuff then, like Flutterbat, but now it's sad that it was all for naught. At the very least, the journal gets brought up again in this finale, with the introduction of the pillar's qualities, and hints at the Tree of Harmony's roots.
And that's not mentioning how this contradicts the Journal of the Two Princesses. Star Swirl specifically mentions the Tree of Harmony at the time, about page 19 or so.
And all of this came from a book that was found in a loot crate. What a steal, Sunburst!
Yeah, all I ever found in one of those things that was cool was a t-shirt and a flash drive. Honestly, other than a few rune translations and Fluttershy being cute, what is there really in this section to like? I mean, I personally really love the second half of part 1, but the first bit is just a repeat of the beginning of Health of Information.
I didn't find that boring. However, it felt like it took a bit longer to accelerate to the end of the first third of the episode, what with the 3-day segment of useless cross-referencing on a book that they apparently couldn't even read. At least parts of it.
Honestly, this just seems like a conflict to pad out why Twilight, who's probably a speed reader, can't figure out this problem instantly.
However, moving on to a more pleasant moment in the finale with the second quarter, this part of the episode shoots in the face of all the Season 4 two-parters with how they bring focus to the rest of the main 6, and even Spiky Wakey! This is easily one of the top reasons why I applaud this episode.
Yeah, honestly, I really have to agree with you here. A lot of these scenes are awesome, and this first one with Applejack is actually my favorite. And we get the return of Paleo from Fault in Our Marks, although she's moved from paleontology to archaeology, which is somewhat confusing.
Is that Nathan Drake as a cult?
And is that Laura Croft as a filly? Being trained by Indiana Jones in archaeology?
Indiana Jones in archaeology?
Yeah, that looks like some fan fiction material right there. I wonder if they have fanon names yet. Nathan Draft? Laura Pasture?
Good enough for this silly fandom. After that bombshell, we move forward to Rarity's trial, which adds further to the problem MLP has had with lore suddenly turned real, having the locations that no pony bats an eye to discover the truth of how the legends were. Seriously, first Daring Do? Now these fabled ponies? What's next, Equestria? Grogar?
Honestly, I liked the fact that the old lady had a curved horn, but is that not remarkable enough for Rarity to comment on? It's a nice nod, but it seems out of place not being mentioned at all.
Yeah, but it isn't really noticeable from afar, so there's that. And hey, look before you sleep callback, with beautifying the garden like the tree branch, and beauty reigns once more.
Well, whatever. Next we have the Rainbow and Spikes segment, which honestly has a lot of really awesome bits. It involves Garble, and that's neat, I guess. It's too bad Fizzle isn't here, so I have no place for my gay jokes. Mwah.
Whoa. Yeah, Spike and Rainbow did a number on Garble's ego with those put-downs that they drew. And I like Kathy's older Spike voice for the orange and purple dragon here. So yeah, Dragonlance was a great section for the artifact search, with more death threats from everyone's least favorite dragon.
It also makes a lot of sense for Fireproof Shield to be in the Dragonlands, especially if we take into account the fact that it's still being used for fire surfing, which may I remind you was the most frickin' awesome thing I have ever seen.
The fact that they tricked the dragons is similar to the Pegasi avoiding the common attacks Torch and that green dragon were launching at Flash Magnus. And lava surfing makes me nostalgic for some reason. The lava isn't hot! I know it to be true! We live the fantasy!
Bad.
Ah! The little cute gators! Thank you, Hasbro!
Now back to the actual episode. Next we see Fluttershy and Cattail, and honestly this is really cute.
And we get Pinky with Daring Do looking for the blindfold, which explains why she wasn't with the archaeology ponies earlier.
Yeah, and that actually makes me wonder, why in Celestia's name is Somnambula's artifact the blindfold? You'd think that the glow pads would make for a better one.
I can see it for an argument that represents charity on her part. The blindfold just represents the blind hope she had to save the Pharaoh, and that was it.
I suppose if we take the comics into account, it could be because she used her glow pads to save every pony.
Anyway, enough with the comics already. We'll get to those later. Now it's time to transition back to some awesomeness! With Twilight to make her first big mistake by releasing the powerful baddie, Starlight tries to be the voice of reason to both Twilight and Sunburst only because she isn't blinded by fanaticism.
Well, the problem is that Starlight is right, and this is a dumb bucking idea. I think just about everyone who was watching this knew this would happen, so it happened.
And we are shown Pony Venom.
Heh, I was gonna say Bendy, with that weird animation style, but they have the same comparison. Both are amorphous black creatures taking over living hosts.
Then we meet with the real antagonist of the finale, not Stygian or the Pony of Shadows, but in fact, the fabled Star Swirl, the Bearded!
Yeah, that was kind of annoying to me. I had this whole video where I praised him for being an excellent use of the bumbling wizard trope in the comics. It seems that now he has a much more forceful personality.
But I love this different interpretation that seems like in canon with what the show has explained about him beforehand. That Canterlot elitism air about him.
I guess it is kind of hard for him not to have a sort of Canterlot elitism, considering he was the one who made Canterlot.
With his stubborn pride shown throughout with his quotable line, "Once a villain, always a villain."
I don't know if he understands that one of his own students was a villain. Maybe he would change his tune if he learned that.
Swirl was wrong in this episode, but Stygian did have some fault in not consoling the Prillers about taking their relics to make copies about. While he did wanted to surprise them, he may indeed was a bit motivated by some envy when he saw the sirens attack the village and the pillars being carted out as heroes.
Well, in the comic we actually see that this is Stygian's own village, and it kind of makes sense that he'd be upset that they didn't recognize him, but it doesn't matter either. He still succumbed to darkness, and trust me, I've been there, but I've never gone that emo.
To finish up the review, let's speak on some of the highlights in the second episode. Pinkie Pie being a new alternative to the SpongeBob imagination meme. They just work for us. The power of Deus Ex Machina is unexplainable even by the wielders. And Pinkie power-hugging rainbow out of the blue. And sky, apparently.
Not to mention, the no offense joke has crossed the time stream with the siren, and Starlight hasn't taken any of it. Also, this is kind of random, but it seems somehow weirdly appropriate that Stygian has a British accent, and Star Swirl's magic is the color of semen. That has some implications, doesn't that, Uni?
Yes. This episode ends with the student Starlight reteach Twilight to never forget what you already know, even with idols about. So I would rate this episode top tier. Despite the issues with limited time with events and focus on the new characters, I'm very biased with how much the events this finale had made me feel relieved that the show didn't forget where it came from.
Honestly, I'm with a lot of other people on this matter. I think it would have been a lot easier if we spread the first part over the course of the season, but honestly, I wouldn't give up a lot of the better episodes for that, despite this being more my style in terms of what I want in an episode.
Then again, Season 7 was the first half more slice of life with Joanna Lewis and Christine Sanko for story editors, but Josh Haber then took it for himself with the second half, with episodes focusing on building up to the finale. So yeah, I can also wish the staff pre-planned it better.
Well, that was fun and all, but I think there's a few things we didn't actually touch on. Honestly, I think we should do some research over at my place. There are some really interesting things in this episode. We just have to dig a little deeper.